Hello my friends, and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different than the other videos. I'm going to be reading off one of my favorite stories in Warhammer 40,000. This is only a short story straight out of the Codex Demons, and it is the story of the Silver Knight. So this one will be a little bit short, but I hope you can sit back and relax while I tell the story. We start off with the Palace of Slaanesh. While the other Chaos Gods rarely welcome intruders to their lands within the Immaterium, Slaanesh loves to tempt visitors to his unnatural domain, and those that dare enter the Lord of Pleasure's territory risk becoming trapped in his warped delights for eternity. Slaanesh's realm is divided into 6 domains, arranged in concentric rings about the Palace of Pleasure. Each of these is a celebration of Slaanesh's desires, and while they might be mistaken for paradises, nothing in the land of the Dark Prince is as it seems. An intruder can only reach the Palace of Pleasure in the very heart of Slaanesh's territory, by passing through all 6 of the circles, an act of will beyond most souls, both mortal and demonic. One amongst the mortal visitors to his realm still looms large in the memory of Slaanesh, however, a wandering knight of the Adeptus Astartes, whose resolve was as strong as silvered adamantium. The first circle the knight pushed through was richly appointed beyond the dreams of kings. Mountains of stacked gold reached towards rainbow mosaics of gemstones in the marble vaults high above. Glittering ingots and diamonds beyond count littered the ground. The knight marched past many a starving wretch attempting to count the innumerable gold coins. Their sallow faces twisted with mounting greed until their piles toppled, and weeping they had to start over again. At every corner and crossroads stood gilded statues, some of beautiful Slaanesh, others of demons and mortals, trapped in blissful ecstasy. The trails in the diamond dust underfoot betrayed the fact that the statues were once flesh and blood. The knight had left notions of material wealth long behind, and he strode on without touching a single coin. Crunching his way across the beach of golden teeth, the knight came to the shores of a vast lake of dark wine. The lake was dotted with pallid islands formed from the backs of giants, each linked by crisscrossing bridges. The backward hands of each giant held up a table that groaned under the weight of a lavish feast. There he saw mortal men gorging themselves on the banquet, wide-eyed and desperate in their hunger, as others frantically tried to gulp down the lake itself. The bloated and the obese moaned in pain as they crammed ever more food into their wine-stained mouths. The knight pressed on, distaste twisting his features as he passed the grisly remains of those who had consumed so much that they physically burst apart. The wanderer made his way through the fields of golden light and soft hay, where lissom maidens and beautiful youths frolicked, near naked in the hallucinogenic musk of the lithe beasts that coveted with them. The faces and fertile forms of the dancers were impossibly sensual, molded to the perfect desire of the heart. The knight held his breath and closed his eyes, for though mortal pleasures were forbidden to his order, part of him was still a man. The crooning nymphs gathered around the knight, stroking his silvered armor and whispering of the sweet carnal pleasures they would give him, but he yielded not. The severed limbs and heads that lay underfoot spoke of the truth behind the honeyed lies. Eyes shut, he cut down the demonette seductresses around him, one after another, letting revulsion guide his shining blade. After fighting his way through the feminine contours of the foothills ahead, the knight emerged onto a balcony where he was greeted by roars of adulation and approval. An army of space marines so vast its number was beyond counting awaited before him on an endless plain, listening in fevered anticipation of his commands for conquest. Planetary governors nodded in obsequious anticipation, and the high lords of Terra smiled up at him from smaller balconies of their own, motioning him to speak. The knight recognized one of the rules from his own mortal life, and stood before him, looking deep into the Philosopher King's eyes. Behind the mask of power and self-assurance, he saw eternal, nagging paranoia, gnawing suspicion, and hidden doubts that were acid to the soul. The knight shook his head sadly and walked away. Wearied by his ordeals, the wanderer strode on through a mesmerizing woodland paradise, its maze of pathways thick with flowers and heavy with thorns. The gentle, fragrant breeze whispered to the knight of past glories, reminding him of the executions he had performed in the Emperor's name. Mirrored pools reflected the knight as a shining saint, his face serene but his sword bloodied as he artfully carved apart rank after rank of red-skinned demons. The warrior turned away, troubled. In the distance, he could make out tortured figures staring intently into mirror pools of their own, each held immobile by the undergrowth as whispering thorns insinuated themselves into their flesh. The wanderer turned his mind to the humility of the cell he once called home. As he did so, the path through the maze withered and straightened out before him. So the night trudged on. An endless beach stretched away from the night, and heavenly choirs sung soothing lullabies as the perfumed sea lapped at the fortress walls of his mind. The wanderer's bones cried out for rest, even if only for a moment. The warmth of the golden sun above calmed his soul, and the tide began to erode his will. His tired eyes could barely stay open, but his vision was still clear enough to see the horrible truth. The bone-white sand was made from the remains of those who had rested here and fallen into a coma of blissful indolence. His resolve hardened. The knight strode on toward the shimmering palace in the distance. It was there, beneath the elegant spires, that the wanderer came before almighty Slaanesh. Statuesque and divinely glamorous, the deity visited him in the form of a young man possessed of an androgynous beauty, clean-limbed and fresh with the vigor of youth. The knight unsheathed his rune-edged sword and made to strike him down. To his horror, he found that he could not, for the god prince was disarming in his innocence and utterly beguiling in his manner. Even the purest flame can be extinguished by the tide. In that moment of doubt, the wanderer was lost. He knelt, bowing his head at last, and a single touch of the being's glowing scepter on each shoulder sealed his fate for eternity. So that's the story. It's just a short one, but it's one of my favorites, especially of an excerpt from a codex. I think it's really interesting. I think the Silver Knight can be a pretty cool character sometime in the future, or just in the ongoing lores. I hope you guys like this kind of video. If you do, let me know. If you didn't, let me know too. And once again, I'm just reading this from the codex itself. I'm not taking credit for writing any of that. But if you want me to read any more, the music and images played over, just let me know, because I really like doing this kind of thing. So, I love you guys. Stay jacked out there and work hard. See you guys next time.